In this lesson, we're going to start working with remote data. In previous lessons, we've worked a lot with a local database that was on the device. And that's great, and it performs really well. But if we want the device to talk to a central server or to be able to have data that's available to anyone else, we need to access a remote database. In this lesson, we're going to use a WCF service, and we're going to use a web reference that Visual Studio can create using a tool. So it's actually pretty darn easy. We're going to have a login form with a username and password, and when we click the login button, we're going to access a remote service to see if the user can be logged in. The first thing we need is our web reference. Now I've already created it, but we'll go through the steps. We add a web reference and then point it to the service that we're interested in. In this case, I have a little local service called Customer Service, and the tool will explore it and find out what services are available and ask us to create a name. When we add reference, it will add that and all the references that it needs to the project. So that's what happened here. So now I have a customer service. And the really cool thing about it is that it creates the classes that I need, and basically I can just treat it like any old object. I don't have to do anything particularly special to use it. So in the activity, I have my button for login and its click event. I get the username and password from the edit text, and then I create an instance of my customer service. It's got a constructor that has no parameters, so that's really easy. And then there is a login completed event and a login async. Because Android has a timeout on any method calls, it's actually recommended to use async methods when you're talking with remote data. There is a login method available that was synchronous, but the concern would be traveling over the wire that it wouldn't make it in time and it would fail. So this prevents that kind of problem. So we set up the event that catches the results of the login method. And then we call login async, passing in the username and the password. In login completed method, we read the result. There are specific event arguments for this method, and that was all created again by the tool. Then we have our login result off of that, which is a Boolean. And if it was successful, we say the login is successful, and if not, the login has failed. And of course, we could make the appropriate application logic, whether to go into another activity or show an error message. So we'll run this. Now the WCF service on the server could of course access a database, and likely would, to determine whether the username or password was good. In this case, this service is really bad because there's only one username and one password that will work. And that username is Keith. And the password is Moose. Not a particularly strong password. And when I click login, you'll note that it takes a little bit of time. It's creating the service, and the async result will show us the toast message. Now if I put in an incorrect password, and click the login, a little bit quicker the second time around because the service is already created. So that's how easy it is to use a WCF service within the Android project. Next we'll take a look at using a remote data using JSON.